And good morning, golfing world. It's Monday Morning Golf Wrap here on TGD TV and TGD Radio. And today we're so thankful to be brought to you by the Legends Golf Resort Group, home of the all-inclusive golf right here in sunny Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where every round you play includes buffet breakfast, lunch from their menu, and 2 draft beers. Also, unlimited range package is available. 30-acre lighted practice facility at the Legends course itself, free daily housekeeping, nightly drinks at Golf Digest, #1 ranked hole, 19th hole in South Carolina, the Alsa Pub, and just a fantastic opportunity to come and stay and play. For more information, go to their website, legendsgolf.com. That's www.legendsgolf.com. I want to welcome you to Monday morning and our hangover here from the 2015 U.S. Open, the 115th playing of the U.S. Open. Hugh Rory III. I'm, of course, George Honeycutt. And Hugh, what an Open it was. And because of the time difference, I mean, everybody was up late. I mean, it was edge of the seat late.
Everybody was up late, and you're right. Everybody was on the edge of their seat. I think Greg Norman made one of the best statements that he made all week on television when they opened their coverage, saying that 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 were going to be the holes that made the difference in the excitement coming down the stretch, and I do believe he was correct.
Mm-hmm. Interestingly, some of the preliminary numbers this morning, this will turn out to be the most watched U.S. Open championship in television history.
That's a nice thing to hear.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to add one thing to that. It was the most listened to coverage that we've ever done here on TGD Radio and TV. We were joined by folks from 22 countries yesterday listening to this, and at one point, 80% of our listeners were outside the United States, which is pretty cool.
That's very cool.
I'm going to read this list off. Listening to our live commentary yesterday were folks from the USA, Canada, Australia, United Kingdom, Switzerland, Italy, Ireland, Japan, France, the island of Malta, Malta, New Zealand, Belgium, Fiji, Germany, South Africa, St. Martin, Spain, Sweden, United Arab Emirates, Portugal, and Hong Kong.
That's pretty good.
We were busy yesterday.
Yes.
We missed you.
It was our biggest day in the history of the network since we launched it, as far as listenership and viewing.
That's really cool. That's glad. Thank the listeners for tuning in, listening to you guys yesterday. I think that's awesome. It was a tough day for me yesterday, being Father's Day, and luckily I had my kids there to help me get through it. And watching the golf tournament, we were sitting there just going, wow, what's going to happen next? Because something was happening constantly.
Well, and that was, we look for that in major championships, Hugh, and it just seemed like, we were watching Rory make his move. Realistically, he could have come in at 4 or 5 under par. If you look at the way he was striking the ball, he was finally making a few putts. We're sitting there watching, Louis Oosthuizen just kind of meandering through the front nine. Then all of a sudden, he acts like a person from another planet on the back nine and ends up shooting 29 to go into the clubhouse at 4 under par.
He was at 115-year-old record.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty nice to have in your resume.
Oh, sure.
29 on the back nine of the National Open.
But
think that's amazing.
You sit and look at Adam Scott. Adam Scott posted 66. You sit and look at these other players that were, all of a sudden it was like the light switch flipped on and they said, well, we can putt these greens. We can play this golf course. We don't need to have a negative attitude about it. We just need to go out and see if we can win this thing, because the leaders are going to come back to us. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, yes.
Every time someone decided to take the lead, then it was either the next hole or within a couple of holes, something happened to them and they fell back.
Yes.
We saw it with Dustin. We saw it with Jordan. Jordan, if he doesn't double bogey on 16 or 17, excuse me, if he doesn't double bogey 17, he runs away with it. It's a cakewalk.
Yeah, all he's got to do is just go ahead and make bogey there and get out and go to 18, and then he plays it the way he did, it's over. Yeah, it's game over. But, you talk about, the greens and this and that. The beauty of it was, I think, the attitude, like you're saying, the guys that went out early, they went out and just said, you know what, we're going to take our chance and hit solid putts and try to hit them a little firmer and make them. And if we can make them and make a run at this thing, it puts some pressure on the guys back there that are actually worried about missing the 3 and 4 footers.
Well,
we saw a lot of that.
I heard Louis Oosthuizen make the comment in a post-round interview that I should have done this on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah. I heard that as well. And but saying it afterwards is a lot easier than when it's going on. But George, we talked about it before we went on air, and I tell you, I have gained a lot of respect for a young man that we already liked a lot in Jordan Spieth. I mean, the way he handles himself on the golf course and the way he plays golf, yes, that is something for young people to look at and to admire and try to copy. But in his post interview, when they did the presentation of the trophy to him, and Joe Buck asked him, said, with all the negativity about the greens and everybody complaining about it, he goes, I know why the NFL doesn't like to come to Seattle now. He goes, because with the fans here and Michael being from here, which is his caddy, Greller, he said, it was like we had home field advantage because all the people yelling for us. And he played right around that baited question. And for a 21-year-old to do that, I tell you what, that's a lot of class. And his parents need to take a lot of credit for the way they raised that young man to handle that situation because he didn't even blink.
Well, he didn't know. And I tell you, I stopped by a couple of pro shops this morning, on the way in to the studio. I just wanted to pick up the scuttlebutt. What was everybody talking about? Were they talking about McIlroy's charge or talking about Louis Oosthuizen's 29? Were they, talking about Jordan? No. In both situations, both pro shops that I stopped into, the discussion was, boy, how bad were those greens? Boy, how bad was Chambers Bay? They'll never go back there. There was no discussion on the positive aspects of it. Again, it was feeding off the negatives of it. The media hype, the media, that just seemed to be the storyline every day. Will these greens roll any better? No, they're not going to roll any better. Doggone it, everybody had to play on them. The greens presented themselves per what the grasses and all that afforded them to be able to do. So I thought it was fantastic. I would like to see this championship go back there in 6 years, 7 years. Take it back there.
From a spectator's
Let's go do it.
It was awesome because you didn't know like you said it when we opened. You didn't know what to expect next. Anything could happen.
No clue.
Exactly. Anything could happen. And from an amateur golfer who's always said, I wonder how these guys would play if they put it on greens like we do. I made the comment before we went on the air. Some of them are going to play lights out, and some of them are going to let it get in their head. Let me give you a few stats and numbers. You know me, and I rattled a lot off yesterday. I'm actually burned out on the numbers. Okay,
it's the first for everything.
I know, buddy. Round 3, there were 3 eagles. Round 4, there were 11. How about that? And that's because they set 2 of the par 4s up to be drivable. That is just common sense.
It is, and they played it, shorter yesterday because of what they thought the wind was going to do. And honestly, the wind it blew, but it never blew with what they expected. So it gave us, that finish that Greg Norman was talking about, at the opening of the show.
But Hugh, I argue the point: if the greens were so doggone bad, then it wouldn't have mattered how far they moved it up or how shorter they made the golf course. You still had to roll the rock to make 11 eagles. Let me go on further. Round 3, 197 birdies. Yesterday, 250 in round 4. So that went up. Par, 773 in round 3. Round 4, 772. One less par.
How many doubles yesterday?
Doubles. Saturday, 43. Yesterday, 47. Saturday, there were 8 others. Yesterday, 1.
And Chris Kirk's 10 on number 1 yesterday didn't help us for sure.
No, that was the one.
Yeah.
That was
making a Bo Derek on your first hole does not start.
No, it does not start right.
No.
Again, they did play it shorter, 7,384 yards, but if you look at the yardages played on each day, it played about 100 yards shorter, 150 yards shorter.
Stroke average yesterday, 71.29 for the fourth round versus 73.13 versus in the third round. So almost 2 shots less, playing easier. I don't know. I keep hearing all the negatives, and you have to wonder. The media just harped on it, hyped on it, all this. Fox was doing everything it could to kind of blind the issue, kind of say no, and whether they did that through poor coverage or whether they were just, it was coming second nature to them. One thing I think out of this championship that I don't want to see again is I don't want to see football and baseball players out leading up the commentary for the golf coverage.
I agree, but I'll tell you what, Scott McCarron, Steve Flesh,
they did fine.
Corey Pavin,
and Brad Faxon, please.
He was okay.
Brad, get a haircut.
Well, yeah.
Get a hairdo.
Yeah.
Dude, you've been wearing that style since 1974. Come on, man.
Get him some of your Dapper Dan.
He's still got the hair yet.
I wanted to ship it to him so bad overnight. Jordan Spieth, 21 years, 11 months old. He turns 22 next month. 6th player to win the Masters and the Open in the same year. He's the youngest player to win the Open since Bob Jones did it in 1923. First player since Sarazen in 1922 to win 2 majors before the age of 22. That's history, bud.
This kid right here is going to take care of a lot of issues that everybody's worried about the other one. And this kid's going to be the front runner, and he's going to be the new hero for all the kids growing up and for people who want to watch golf. He is. He's a great role model for kids, for grown-ups, for everybody that enjoys golf. That's just, like I said, the way he handles himself, the way he acts on the golf course. He acts like a gentleman, like grown-up, and he's 21 years old. I mean, you don't see that in younger folks these days. And again, it goes kudos to his parents for the way that he's been raised and how he handles things. And, to have his parents there for, his dad was there Father's Day, his mother was there. His little sister had to stay back in Texas. We all know about that. But for him to mention her and, the funny part about his brother being there and saying, yep, I'm his brother.
Steve's brother.
Steven Spieth's brother.
Yeah. Something that I really appreciated, too, is the fact that with the mic placement, we could hear a lot of the discussion that was going on. I always like to listen to Spieth and his caddy. But it showed us that he's not superhuman. He's normal. He gets frustrated. He gets mad.
He gets nervous, yes.
But he gets over it. He handles it. They deal with it. I thought that was probably the answer to everything right there, is just watching him. I mean, he'd get mad. You could just tell he was as aggravated as anybody else.
Sure.
And he said things that were picked up, was it the second round or third round, about how stupid.
It was Friday's round.
It was Friday's round, yeah. And so he's having the same feelings, but then you watch him calm down and visualize his shot, get the picture.
And paint the picture.
Paint the picture.
For all you amateurs, including myself, not a better piece of advice could be had.
Yeah.
Paint the picture. Just think about what you're doing. Get into the moment.
And trust yourself.
Lots of lessons right there. All the way around.
I agree, and it's just, it's like Daddy used to say a long time ago. He goes, no matter what the condition of the golf course, no matter what is going on, you have to dance with the one you brung with you to the dance.
That's right.
And that's what he did. And, everybody's got to play the same golf course.
That's right.
And we talked earlier, and I've talked to some really close friends and texted them Happy Father's Day yesterday. And, one of them told me, says, Chambers Bay is not very good. And to be honest, the whole thing was ridiculous. But he's a person that'll never say a word to anyone in public or publicly to make that statement. But he's like, I can't wait to get home. And, he's a former U.S. Open winner. But he just, it's time to move on and let's get ready for what's coming up next. It's just some places fit your eye, some places don't.
That's right.
And it's like, you can look at the green. Some guys, it doesn't bother them. Some of them, they just can't figure it out.
And we hear from the same individuals that can't break 80 at Augusta. And your conditions aren't going to get any better in that place.
No, I agree.
Something else that I've heard you say that your dad used to always say would really play true here. If you ain't got it when you get here, you're not going to find it.
You're not going to get it. It ain't in your locker.
If you ain't brought it with you, you're not going to find it.
That's right.
No use hunting for something you didn't bring with you.
It ain't your locker. That's right. That was even commented on this weekend. So, Hugh, let me ask the question. I mean, this is obvious on several media outlets this morning. Did Jordan win this tournament, or did Dustin Johnson lose this tournament?
It's just like Mr. Ben Hogan said a long time ago. He says, you don't go out and win a U.S. Open, somebody loses it and gives it to you. And that's a quote, unquote, from Ben Hogan.
Okay.
I honestly think that he played well enough to win, put himself in that position, but there ought to be an 18-hole playoff today if things were handled properly from 12 and a half feet on 18. And I just think Dustin, he's one of those that we've all made these mistakes playing golf, professionally, amateur, or anything else. You hit the putt. If it goes in, great. If not, you tap it in and you go into a playoff, and then you take your chances and you guarantee.
In other words, you do whatever it takes necessary that putt from 12 and a half feet does not end up outside that cup 1 inch.
Exactly. Because if, like we've said, they've talked about it on television. We've talked about it here. Everybody complained about it. They're bumpy. It's hard to make 4, 5, 6 footers. Get it down there to where you can tap it in. Because they said on television all day yesterday, George, there is no such thing as a gimme out here. So why do you got to be a hero?
They ran camera eye level, green level, on Dustin's putt in a replay. I watched that putt roll over that 12 feet. It never hit anything. It never got offline. It was as pure of a roll as you could ever find. Anyone that says, well, the bumpy greens was what caused him to miss that putt, that's inaccurate.
It is inaccurate because Jason Day hit the same exact putt before him, hit it that far out, it never broke. It didn't go quite as far by, but it went by 4 feet. I mean, you think if you're not watching, something's wrong. The guy just did it right in front of you. Showed you the speed.
Well, Jason showed you the line twice.
That's what I'm saying.
He gave him the line twice. On the 12-footer and then on the 4-footer coming back. He gave him the line twice. And Jason was trying to do that, I think. I mean,
well, he sat there and talked to him when he knocked it by the hole, said, do you want me to finish or do you want me to mark? It's up to you. What do you want me to do, man?
And Dustin's going,
doesn't matter, whatever you want. He goes, do you want, and he finished. I honestly thinking that because, Jason's that good a guy, and he's trying to help. Because they know each other. They're both tailor-made guys, and they've done a lot of stuff as far as commercials and things. Right. And he tried to, and how do you not pay attention? You know what I mean? It's just like he didn't even look to watch.
Dustin, as far as off the tee box, driver, whatever he was hitting, best of the week. No doubt about it.
It's ridiculous. And the tee shot.
That driver he hit yesterday on 18 and then that 5-iron.
Oh. I mean,
consider Jordan Spieth hit 3-wood from where he was, and then Dustin gets up there and center cuts the fairway into probably the narrowest part of that entire fairway, and then hits 5-iron into there and hits the shot that he hits and ends up 12 feet away for eagle to win the 2015 U.S. Open. Ball striking wise, God, he was there all week.
I mean, he missed the fairway maybe, 2-3 times yesterday? Maybe.
Twice.
I know of twice.
Twice.
Once with a driver and once with a driving iron. Other than that, I mean, the one he hit at 18, you could tell he tried to nuke it. He did, and it looked like an absolute missile when they put it on Shot Tracker. And I looked at Brad, I'm like, oh, my. And Brad's sitting there when he's got 7-iron. I said, no, he's probably got 5-iron, but, maybe a 4-iron, 5-iron, but no 7-iron. But, I mean.
By the way, Fox Sports, pick another color to put Shot Tracer in. Really, keep an eye on that. Just make it blue or black or whatever so we can see the doggone thing. So
the funny part is how many times did they hit tee shots or hit shots and they couldn't find
them? They're lost.
Their camera people could not find out where they're lost. Had no idea.
So learning experience for everybody. Yes. So we'll go there. I mean, Dustin Johnson, this is his 4th failure in a major championship. This is number 4. Now, he's, of course, just took his personal leave, and I'll leave it there. I could go in another direction. This being internet, I don't have to worry about the FCC. But he took his personal time, and he's come back now. He's in a better place. He's had a child. You could tell how uplifting the baby was there with Paulina, and the whole Gretzky family was there. Yeah. And you could tell how uplifting the kid was. But, again, you look at the 2010 Open at Pebble. He had a 54-hole lead. He shoots 82 on the last day. And 2 months later, he's at Whistling Straits, get the 2-shot penalty on the last hole in regulation play, ends up missing the playoff because of the two-shot penalty. He made bogey on the hole, but add that to the 2-shot penalty, and he ends up missing the playoff. And then, literally, several months later in the 11th British Open, the Open Championship, he's on the 14th hole with the lead, got it, gets on the 14th hole, blows an iron right, goes out of bounds. That's it. He's toast. Now, Chambers Bay. 3 putts from 12 feet. So, can Dustin, and we don't know his psyche, we don't know. I mean, he's one of those few players that you really can't figure out the personality.
Yeah, I agree. But I would hope he would learn and try to improve on those mistakes down the line.
Ball striking wise, I've never seen him hit it better.
I have to agree.
And over 4 days, it wasn't like he had a total meltdown yesterday. He did not putt well in the back nine in the final round of the U.S. Open.
I don't think he putted well 3 out of the 4 days. But, I mean, you go back and look at Brendan Grace. Brendan Grace, they were talking about he had hit more greens in regulation. He'd hit more fairways. And then he stands on 16 with a 3-wood and fires it in almost in the tracks.
Sure.
I mean, it's just, it's the U.S. Open. It's pressure.
And tell me how Jordan lines up on the left-hand side of the tee box to hit a fade, and he ends up taking a line on his alignment. He was lined up right of the green. Was he expecting to pull it back across his body and start it left of the green and let it fade back in, or was he planning on a hook? But that shot he hit on 17, I'm sitting here going, oh, my God, Jordan. You just saw Brandon totally miss the earth with his previous tee ball on 16, and now you're going to do it? And they almost didn't find the ball. And then they find the ball, and he decides to play it safe, throw it up on the bank on the left, the front left, come back down, and he realistically had basically a flat 5-footer, and he just pulled it to make double. Because like you said before, if he makes bogey and then goes on and makes his routine birdie on Dustin doesn't have a chance. But because of that double, Dustin's back into the mix.
But here's the beauty of it. It doesn't matter now.
It doesn't matter now.
Because he is the U.S. Open champion 2015.
And the Masters champion 2015.
So, now, here comes.
Is he the favorite at the Open Championship in 24 days? 24 days from now. Is he the Open favorite?
I'd say he's in the top 5.
Well, McIlroy?
Possibly.
Do we move Grace up the list now? Do we move Oosthuizen up the list now? As the Oosthuizen, I warned everybody yesterday early. I said, watch Oosthuizen. I mean, after these 266s in the last 2 days, there's no real reason why he can't go out and keep that same philosophy. And all of a sudden, we started seeing him drain putts. Like on 15, for example. If that putt doesn't hit the hole,
it might go off front of the green.
That's right. He's 15 yards coming back. But it's like he said. He said, I had a good line. I was going to be aggressive. And he goes, if I missed it, I missed it. But I didn't.
And if a frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his rear end on the ground.
5 birdies in a row on Sunday, 4th round of the U.S. Open.
6 out of the last 7. That's impressive.
And if those greens were so damn bad, folks, he wouldn't have been able to do that. So, I'm just saying, there's a lot of people right now voicing opinions about that golf course, and I think Chambers Bay performed extremely well, and I would very much like to see the USGA take the U.S. Open back to Chambers Bay within the next 7 to 8 years.
And I think if they do something like that, I think it was mentioned that, the fescue on the greens will be gone.
Well, it'd be rough. They would oversee it.
They would put bent, and you'll have Poe anyway because Poe's going to be there no matter.
They don't even have to do that. I would simply just leave the fescue there, and they could oversee with probably a bent and a light strand of bent and get it more level, and I think that would work out. So it's but the point is, I think as a facility, the Northwest. This being our first major championship up there. They were wonderful hosts, wonderful, providers up there. And that golf course demanded shot skills and mental strength.
Oh, it did that. But that's any U.S. Open you're going to play. They're going to Oakmont next year, and I mean, that golf course is old school, but it's very similar now. They've taken all the trees out of Oakmont. There are no trees. So it looks almost like a link-style course. Fastest greens in America, bar none. And it takes the same thing there, though. You've got to learn to shape your shot because you're not going to fly balls on the green. You're bouncing balls into those greens. And so it'll be interesting to see there, too. And they're perfect surfaces. So we'll see what complaints and what comes out of there. But it's all about imagination, like you're talking about.
Right. Well, the Godfather could have been more pleased with the way this year's U.S. Open basically developed and was played out, and the characters and the names that were in the hunt, in the run. We watched a continual fall and decline from one Eldrick Woods. We saw Ricky Fowler really take some credibility off of his name this week. I think he handled this week just absolutely poorly. So we'll see how all that turns out. Again, in about 24 days, we've got the Open Championship at St. Andrews, the home of golf.
Which will be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, it'll be a blast. So I look forward to covering that with you on coverage of the majors here at you. And then we got Whistling Straits, like we talked about earlier in the year, folks. It don't get no better than this for an entire year of championships, major coverage, major championships. I mean, you couldn't ask for four better venues. Of course, Augusta, now Chambers Bay. Congratulations to them. Then we're talking about St. Andrews next. And then, of course, following up with Whistling Straight. And as I commented yesterday, Hugh, and I commented on Saturday during a recap summary, Mr. Kohler is drying that place out right now as we speak.
Oh, I guarantee you.
He's not going to see 20 under par. No. So I don't care what anybody says, and the PGA Tour is going to have more insight, or the PGA has more insight into that championship. But they will find themselves falling subject to Mr. Kohler saying, you better make sure that my golf course plays just as tough as Chambers Bay.
Now, we had our discussion when we did the show on Thursday. What did I tell you I would take and sit in the pro shop? Sit in the clubhouse for 4 days. As far as the score. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Even par.
Okay.
Where did even par finish?
Yep, tied for ninth. Yep.
You shoot even par at the U.S. Open, you're going to finish top 10, and you're going to make a lot of money, and you're going to get to play next year, and you're going to get into Augusta, and you're going to get into the PGA and the British Open. That just goes to show you, par is not a bad score.
No.
And it was proven.
By the way, Jeff won the cut line.
At 5 over.
At 5 over. Yep, so we owe him lunch. Okay. All right, folks, thanks so much for joining us. HR3, George Honeycutt here. And, again, fantastic 2015 U.S. Open. We look forward to joining you for the Open Championship. We'll be providing several shows on coverage of the majors and, of course, the other programs on TGD today. As far as leading up to the Open Championship, it'll be a lot of fun for both of us to cover. And then, of course, we go back to Whistling Straits. So for Hugh and George, we want to thank you. We want to thank the Legends Golf Group for their sponsorship of coverage of the majors during the Open Championship. TGD Radio and TV are produced and broadcast by the Zeus Radio Network for thegolfdirector.com. When visiting the Golf Director, be sure to check out our featured course pages where you'll find up-to-date information about course conditions, specials, and much more. Need help with your next golf vacation?
Just call Dave.
That's so good. Give us a call, 844-GO-GOLF-1, 844-464-6531. We are now available on over 1 billion, with a B, devices at iTunes, Audio Realm, TuneIn, YouTube, Ustream, Roku, Blueberry, and Myrtle Beach Golf app. And remember, folks, all of our shows are archived for listening and viewing on demand. You can go to TGD Radio or TGD TV in the menu screen at thegolfdirector.com and bring up any of our coverage of the majors, or you can bring up any show you want to. All right, for HR3, Hugh Royer, I'm George Honeycutt, and on behalf of Jeff Behind the Glass, we want to thank all of you from around the world for tuning in over the last several days for the 2015 U.S. Open.